And the problem is, of course, is that the media and the establishment of this country really has a hard time with the reflexive desire to fire something at somebody if there's any opportunity. It's the responsible thing to do. We saw this with Syria, where I personally was on television with a half a dozen people of all political persuasions, all saying the exact same thing. We need to have a strike on Syria. And some of them would be like, and then come up with a plan as to how we're going to deal with this. The one area where they'll trust Donald Trump, apparently, is just in war making, which is absurd. Bernie Sanders was on Face the Nation this weekend and came right up against that sort of knee-jerk sense of like, well, wait a second. The most responsible thing is to have at least a strike, right? I mean, we have to launch something.
Was President Trump's decision this week to call off that strike the right one?
See, it's like somebody setting a fire to a basket full of paper and then putting it out. He helped create the crisis, and then he stopped the attacks. The idea that we're looking at a president of the United States who, number one, thinks that a war with Iran is something that might be good for this country.
He was just doing a limited strike.
Oh, just a limited strike. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I just didn't know that it's okay to simply attack another country with bombs, just a limited strike. That's an act of warfare.
That's the best clip of the whole campaign season.
It is amazing. I mean, he's clearly, Bernie Sanders goes in there with a sense of like the gravity of that moment. I don't think that he's the only one out there, although you don't see many examples of this, frankly, where the flippant, it's just a limited strike. When Donald Trump can at least pretend that he cares about 150 lives more than you can, you have a problem. But that's the thing, is that there is and it has been like this for decades. Maybe it was like this beforehand, although I don't know. Where to be taken seriously within this, the mainstream media and I guess the mainstream circles, you need to just pretend that it's like a visit to a grocery store or something. That it's nothing. Never mind the fact that it would be like lighting a match in a room full of gasoline fumes. But it's just a limited strike.
Extraordinary.
Not a
response.
full-on war.
It's like a strikey wake.
It's not a.
I mean, she didn't even do the sort of like, hey, let me. He's about to attack his opponent. Let me encourage that, which they like to do as well. Like, how do you mean incompetent? How do you mean he set a bunch of papers on fire? It was more like, well, he said limited, Bernie. Nutcase.
Just a limited.
It's not like
strike.
the mother of all bombs.
It's not like the thing we did in Afghanistan. It was nothing.